What is going on, guys? This is Richie here from Red Planet Films, yet again bringing you yet another review. I know I've been kind of churning out the videos quite a lot as of late. I would have shot this a little bit more professionally with my camera. However, being the fact that it is now 12:17 in the morning, I, kind of just wanted to give this to you guys as quickly and as soon as I possibly can. Because I just got back, if you couldn't tell by the title of this video, I just got back from seeing The Killing Joke in theaters. There was a one-night run of it in the theaters, or technically I think it's going to be in theaters for 2 nights. I think it's, going to be playing in select theaters tomorrow as well, or Tuesday the 26th. Or, of course, depending on whenever you're watching this, of course. If it's after the 25th or 26th, then it is long gone. But fear not, for it's coming out on Blu-ray in August. And if it's well past August, then hopefully you've already picked it up. But anyways, before I get into anything really, I just want to make mention very quickly right now that I'm going to be going very in-depth in this review. So I will be touching upon parts from the graphic novel by Alan Moore, which if you have not read this bad boy, I highly suggest you stop what you're doing right now. Try and find that at least online, like digitally, or even order it yourself, because it's definitely something you want to own for yourself. So go stop what you're doing right now. I don't even care if you're jogging in the middle of the street. Stop and go read The Killing Joke and then come back. Also, if you haven't seen The Killing Joke animated film, stop what you're doing right now too. Go watch it somehow and then come back to this. Because like I said, I'm going to go very in-depth and we're going to hit some spoilers. So anyways, right off the bat, Alan Moore, this graphic novel, when it came out, it was such a game changer. It was very controversial as well. And a lot of people before, DC kind of, I guess, made mention that all of their stuff is canon, so to speak. A lot of people really wanted this to be canon because it was just so good, and it was really kind of just a standalone. It was just its own thing, really. Alan Moore was like, let's explore the Joker a little bit more, and people just loved it so much that this was kind of like the official origin of the Joker, so to speak. And this came out, I think, I want to say sometime in the 80s, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, and it's literally stood the test of time. The story basically follows the events of something tragic that happens to Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, and as well as Jim Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, which is her father. The Joker shoots her straight up in the hip. She becomes paralyzed. She can't walk anymore. That's how she becomes Oracle, and she's just wheelchair ridden for pretty much the remainder of her life. But before that, it kind of touches upon the Joker prior to him turning into the Joker. He was a failed comedian. He had a pregnant wife, and he was really trying his best to make it in the comedy business, I suppose, being a stand-up comic. But he just wasn't finding his break. He couldn't make people laugh. So he was pretty much borderline a loser. So he got desperate, and he turned to a life of crime, basically. He found these 2 criminals, and they wanted him to bring him around this, coincidentally enough, a power plant that he used to work at, because, I guess they wanted to retrieve something. The whole operation goes haywire. Batman finds them, and all while in the whole red suit garb, because that's, kind of how these gangsters roll. They have their lackey, if you will, dressed in the red hood garb. So it's just this giant red helmet. Looks like a marker, pretty much. And so everything goes haywire. The Joker ends up tripping, falls into a vat of chemicals, and then that begins his transformation, if you will. Everyone has that one bad day, so to speak. So then, fast forward, and all that stuff happens to Barbara Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, and Batman's just pretty much on this wild goose chase to, find out where he's keeping them and stuff like that. And he's keeping them at this amusement park that he takes from some guy. The guy was going to sell it to him, but the Joker, being the sadistic man that he is, he basically kills the guy and takes it for himself. So, chaos ensues, etc., etc. So the film kind of changes things a little bit, changes the game, so to speak. What it does is that it tells a bit of a prequel, showing you what happened really before the graphic novel kind of starts, when Bruce Wayne is walking through the asylum. He sits down in the Joker's jail cell, and he's, giving him this whole spiel. And he finds out it's actually not the Joker, that the Joker escaped, and he had some goon just put on all his makeup and kind of just sit there as a substitute, so to speak. So it follows this point of view, I suppose, of Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, and she's going on this case, and there's this real, freaking sketchball, narcissistic son of a gun, and, excuse me, so she's trying to follow this case, but her head's just not in the game for some reason, and you're not quite sure why, but then she kind of gives you hints as she's talking to a friend of hers, because she works at a library, and she's dropping these hints, and at first I didn't quite, I honestly, it didn't click with me for some odd reason, and I'm surprised until, the payoff finally happened. She's basically telling this guy that she does these yoga classes, and that she's the best student that this yoga teacher has ever had, but he doesn't realize it, blah, 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 whatever. So she kind of gets in a little bit too deep, a little bit over her head, and her and Bruce end up fighting, and, he tells her to leave, but, she was saying to him that he got her into the whole game, and then they kind of start fighting, and out of nowhere, they just start boning each other. Like, literally, they on this rooftop, they start boning each other. I'm not even kidding. Not even joking. Like, Batman laying down the pipe, the Batarang, all up in Batgirl's sugar walls. But anyways, moving along. So, they bone, things get kind of awkward, because I guess Batgirl kind of can't really control her emotions quite like Bruce Wayne can, or just not, really invest too much into it, so to speak. So, you can kind of relate to Barbara on her side of things, because, I guess we've all had that one person that we kind of care a little bit too much about, or not a little bit too much about, but, you just care about them, but the other person doesn't care about you in the same way, or just doesn't care about you at all. So, you're kind of left in the dust, so to speak. So you can relate to her on that regard and stuff like that. So she ends up just completely quitting after they find this narcissistic douchebag that she was following this case, and she just keeps pummeling his face, just bashing his face. Like, this dude looks terrible by the time she's done. And before Bruce and Barbara ended up, kind of screwing each other's brains out, Bruce said something along the lines to Barbara, and I'm paraphrasing here, that he doesn't want her to reach that edge where you lose all hope, and you're just blank, you have nothing. So she is on the border of reaching that breaking point when she's pummeling this dude, and it's not until she looks at her hand and she sees all this blood on her glove where she's like, all right, let me back up, and then that's when she gives up the mantle as Batgirl. So then that's when the whole thing happens, where Bruce Wayne goes into the asylum. The Joker's not actually there, he got out. The Joker comes to Barbara Gordon's apartment, shoots her right in the hip, destroys her spine, attacks Jim Gordon, takes Jim Gordon to his, amusement park thing that he just got, and then Batman's just on this whole wild goose chase. And so what I want to talk about here is the ending, so I'm going to grab this again. The Joker, he kind of messes up, I suppose, and then, him and Batman are talking, and then Joker remembers some joke, so he decides to tell it, and I will tell it for you. So it goes, see, there were these two guys in a lunatic asylum, and one night, they decide they don't like living in an asylum anymore. They decide they're going to escape. So, they get up and go up on top of the roof, and there, just across the narrow gap, they see the rooftops of the town stretching away in the moonlight, stretching away to freedom. Now, the first guy, he jumps right across with no problem, but his friend daredn't make the leap, you see. He's afraid of falling. So then the first guy has an idea. He says, hey, I have my flashlight with me. I'll shine it across the gap between the buildings. You can walk along the beam and join me. But the The second guy, he just shakes his head. He says, uh, "What do you think? I'm crazy? You turn it off when I was halfway across." And then they start laughing, etc., etc. And then there's this little panel here that's always kind of been up for debate, at least if you ask me, where they're laughing. Even Batman starts laughing, and then Bruce kind of puts his hands on like the Joker, as you can see right here, and they're still laughing and stuff like that. And at least from some of the stuff that I've seen, there's always been this kind of debate as to whether or not Bruce Wayne killed the Joker, or it's kind of just left up for interpretation. So that's literally how the movie ends, and there's no score or anything playing during that duration of that final scene. It's just them talking and the sound effects of the rain and the thunder, and it was a very beautiful, very impactful ending, at least in my opinion that it was, the way that it kind of just wrapped up like that, and just really helps it make that much more of an impact as to whether or not this happened or that happened, and then the credits kind of roll and stuff like that. So just to briefly make mention, before the movie actually started, there was a little bit of a documentary of sorts of Mark Hamill talking about how in the 70s, he auditioned for Star Wars, etc., etc. Then fast forward to 1992, where he was given a call to audition for the Batman animated series. So he was like, okay, so there's this character, there's that character that I can audition for, blah, blah, blah. But then they were like, oh, no, we want you to audition for the Joker. And then he was like, oh, no, like, I can't do this. And then sure enough, he's been the Joker for, 20 some odd years now, maybe like a quarter century. So then fast forward, the whole movie plays, and then afterwards it was another documentary going more in depth about the music behind the whole movie. And the music in this film was very good. There were a lot of key moments, especially some of the more brutal scenes that play out in the Killing Joke graphic novel, comes to life on the big screen. And they were very unsettling, I suppose. It just helped make the scene that much more critical, that much more insane. And it was very enjoyable from that standpoint. You're, especially if you're into movie scores. Like, I love listening to movie scores. Movie scores in general, and even, sound effects and all that stuff, all the sound design, that plays an integral part in making your film that much more impactful. I hate to use that word again, but, it's true. It helps describe, like, key scenes, key moments, key characters, and stuff like that. So it was really cool to kind of see that. And then it also explored, the casting, and then some of the actors doing the voiceover work and stuff like that. It really showcased Mark Hamill a lot and stuff like that. It really didn't show off Tara Strong or Kevin Conroy that much. I kind of wish it did. But I'm sure they're saving that stuff for the Blu-ray. So once the Blu-ray release comes out, I will definitely be making a more in-depth review for that as well. Of course, like I've done in my previous Blu-ray reviews, I'll show you what's on the Blu-ray itself, and then I'll tell you like what it is exactly that they show and stuff like that. And I'm hoping that there is like a commentary track or two on the Blu-ray as well from the director or Bruce Timm, who worked on the Batman animated series, or even Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy. I'd love to, hear some commentary tracks from those guys on the Blu-ray. So overall, I really have no complaints about Batman the Killing Joke, the animated movie. I can certainly see some aspects where people might have a problem with it, primarily with the scene of Barbara Gordon and Bruce Wayne boning, because people might say it's not canon, which, I can see exactly where they're coming from, the animated series, because there was that kind of hint that Barbara and Bruce kind of had a thing, I suppose. And, the animated series and the comics aren't canon, they're not tied into each other. So I can kind of see where people might, get off on the wrong foot here. But at the same time, being that for some odd reason, I didn't even, notice the writing on the wall, that when it actually happened, I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, because there's that one scene where Bruce is sort of hovering over Barbara Gordon's hospital bed, and, she's crying and stuff like that, and, they hug, they embrace. Those panels right there is what came to mind, when that scene came up, when they started, screwing each other's brains out. So I was like, okay, this kind of makes a little bit more sense. Was it needed? No, not really. But was it an issue? At least not for me, it wasn't. I took it for what it was. I had an open mind, and I was like, okay, I can kind of see something like that happening in like another Batman universe or something like that. So overall, I enjoyed this film. I really have no complaints. And the only complaints I do have about it was just the fact that, being that they showed that little documentary snippet before the actual film with Mark Hamill discussing the whole auditioning process, they did show a couple of parts from the Killing Joke animated movie where it was like, okay, like, dude, like, you're spoiling some stuff. Even though I've already read the graphic novels, it's like, I don't want to see that. You know what I mean? So, not a huge issue at all. And, the people that were also there as well, you can tell that they were comic book nerds too, because there was just sort of like this buzz in the air when we walked right in. So, yeah, overall, honestly, I really have no complaints. I'm going to have to give this movie a solid A. For some reason, I kind of wish it was a little bit longer, but, it is what it is. You don't also want them to stretch it or milk it any longer than what they should. The prequel was a nice added touch, and then once it finally got into what the whole graphic novel went into, it was just beautiful. It was literally just seeing all the panels come to life, just being animated. So it was very nice, very good. Sound was awesome. The casting was great. The voiceover work was great. So really, I have no complaints. So did you guys go out and see the Killing Joke? Were you a participant or an attendee for San Diego Comic-Con, and did you happen to see the panel? Because I know that they showed an advanced screening of the film there as well. Did you see the film? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comment section down below if you enjoyed my review. Let me know in the comment section down below, and also be sure to hit that like button so I can know that you guys are enjoying what I'm doing here. Favorite this video, share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever social media platform that you guys use. Check the description box down below. You'll see the link to our gaming channel, as well as our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So if you want to give us a shout on social media, go ahead. We may even give you a shout back too. Most importantly, hit that subscribe button so you can be notified whenever we upload a new video. And I will see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.